Now it's time to welcome our next speaker, and that's Santacruz Silver, Arturo Elizondo. Did I get that right?
Préstamo Elizondo, that's fine.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. With 4 mining operations in 2 countries, Santacruz aims to be a mid-tier silver and base metals company. So please, the show is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to share with you our story. I'll be making some forward-looking statements, so I apologize upfront for that. I get excited about the story, so my apologies upfront. We have four producing assets and 1 trading company, 3 operating mines in Bolivia, and 1 trading company in Bolivia, and 1 operating mine in Mexico, Hidalgo, Zimapan, Hidalgo. We have a strong relationship with our communities and a good history of production. Our last, let's say, material and news release or achievement here in the company was a restructuring process with Glencore. We acquired all the Bolivian assets from Glencore in 2022 with a different structure of payments. Originally, the transaction was a $120 million transaction, where we were meant to pay $22.5 million each year after year 1, starting from year 1, and they were entitled to keep a 1.5% NSR. They were also entitled to keep an inventory of concentrate with a net value of $9 million. And in addition to that, they were also entitled to keep the value-added tax that was generated in previous years where they were running these assets. That value-added tax has a value of around $58 million. With the new and revised or amended terms, we're now with a payment in November 1st, 2025 for $40 million. We're keeping the value-added tax, we're keeping the inventory, the $9 million as well, and we're getting rid of the NSR. So it's a very clean structure, $40 million in November. If we choose, we can pay $10 million every year for the next 8 years. And that is, just as a reference, is considering the $40 million with an implied interest rate of 15%. But logically, we're going to choose to go with the $40 million in November and get rid of that payment. Our production today is around 4.85 million ounces of silver equivalent on a quarterly basis. On a yearly basis, we produce around 20 million ounces. Fourth quarter is the strongest quarter for us in Bolivia for a seasonal reason down there. We have, and we believe in the sustainability values. I'll go fast on this one, but we definitely believe in the best, in the respect and values of United Nations standards, and we practice them both in Mexico and Bolivia. Our liquidity or availability liquidity today is around $140 million. We have the different instruments in place, around $7.3 million as of June 2024, this last quarter. Today we have been growing our treasury. We are, as we speak, around $20 million in cash in our treasury. We have in place a bond program in Bolivia with an implied interest rate of 5%. We have not issued this bond, but we have it there and ready to be issued at any moment. Of course, we're not planning to issue. The full program is for $60 million, but the idea is to issue maybe half of it, and then it's a bullet program, which is payable at 3 years after issuing. And maybe the idea is to eventually refinance with the same program for another 3 years. That's why the full program is for $60 million. Then we have revolving credit facilities that we have not used, but for around $25 million, plus the $56 million of value-added tax, which we're collecting as we speak. Our next collection should be around 15 million. We expect that before December. So we have different instruments and available liquidity to face the November 2025 payment for Glencore. We have, just getting in more detail into our mines, this is the Bolivar mine in Bolivia. This mine has been in production for 200 years non-stop. It's impressive, actually. It has infrastructure, state of the art. The most modern infrastructure, as you can imagine. When Glencore was running these assets, they literally bought the best that money can get, no? So this mine is producing today around 1 million ounces of silver equivalent on a quarterly basis. And we have the revenue component is around 49%, 47% zinc and silver, respectively. So, geologically speaking, it's very technical, this chart. Sorry for that, but technically what we're seeing here is that the geological potential in the area is huge, is big, and we do expect to keep finding the continuation of these veins along strike, and definitely they are open deep. It's a hydrothermal and epithermal deposit, which, as you may know, they have a significant upside potential at deep. This a long section of the Bolivar mine, including the 6 most important veins. Our developments today go down to level 3,600. So the mine is well prepared to keep advancing in the next coming years with bringing costs down and making it more efficient. Throughout the last 2 years, we have been investing in underground equipment and in the infrastructure at the mine. So we're preparing the mine and having it ready to reach the efficiencies that we think this mine could get. Then we have Porco mine. It's a smaller mine in terms of production when compared to Bolivar. Head grades are definitely almost half of what Bolivar mine is. And these are narrow vein, it's a very narrow vein system, lots of veins, but very narrow. Just to give you an idea, the widest veins here are 1 meter. On average, you have 50 centimeters, 40 centimeters. And what we're doing here is just trying to reach more or improve the efficiency of the mine, where when Glencore was running these mines, they were mechanized the whole way. And by this, you have to open very wide tunnels, and the developments are wider than what a narrow vein system requires. So we're coming back to artisanal kind of mining methods, jack legs and cut and fill, where we're having less dilution and improving the mine performance. All of our mines are profitable, cash flow positive, including Porco mine, but these are very zinc, very highly zinc content mine. Geology here is, again, very promising. This mine has been running 500 years without any interruption. Is the oldest mine, or the mine with the history with the most continuous operation in Latin America. So definitely, wherever we go and explore new areas, we're intersecting very encouraging vein systems. We have 2 producing areas, the Hundimiento Zone and the Central Zone. Central Zone is where we are getting back to the artisanal mining with the jack legs and more less dilutive process, and it's proving to be a very good decision for this mine. Then we have Caballo Blanco group of mines. These are 3 mines, 1 mill, a 1,200 ton a day mill. 3 mines producing almost 1 million ounces of silver equivalent on a quarterly basis. geology around Caballo Blanco, it's also very promising, and definitely with checking all the boxes of a very strong mineralized deposit. We have 3 mines, as I was pointing out. In our last year, we have been focusing on reaching efficiencies at this mine. We developed an interconnecting ramp from Colquechaquita to Tres Amigos. Colquechaquita is one of the highest grade mines in this group of mines, but the problem was an inclined shaft, a very narrow inclined shaft that will not allow us to take more than 120 tons per day out of that mine. So the interconnection ramp from Tres Amigos to Colquechaquita, it's a 4.5 by 4.5 meters, now allows us to get the underground equipment and get the ore out from Colquechaquita in an easier, more efficient way, and production is increasing quarter over quarter. The infrastructure in Bolivia, it's good, really good to get our concentrate out from the country. We use railroad, we have railroad tracks at all of our facilities, and the concentrate goes all the way to Chile, to the different Arica and Portezuelo ports, all the way by railroad, making it reliable and more efficient cost-wise. San Lucas is the trading company we have in Bolivia. This is a very interesting project or company. We like it a lot because it covers 2 aspects. One very important for us, which is adding value to the communities around our mines. What we do here is we buy ore from all the small miners. We pay them literally once we have the assays, and part of the due diligence that we do to make sure that they are reliable suppliers, we check that they are using the best practices safety-wise, that they do, an appropriate mining and a respectful one as well, trying to make sure that they don't have child labor at their sites, and all of those standards that we demand from them. So it's really interesting in that sense. We even give them courses of safety. We provide them safety equipment as well, and we try to make sure that they do the best practices safety-wise. In addition to that, we bring them to the formal economy. We pay them on the banking system, which in Bolivia is very common to use cash for everything and not being in the formal economy. So by that, we pay them on the banking system, we retain the taxes for them, and we pay them directly to the government. This gives us also a very important leverage, or not leverage, but a very important recognition by the government, as they are collecting taxes that otherwise they will not be able to be collecting. On the other hand, the suppliers are now in the formal economy, and they are entitled to have a credit, so they go for loans to different institutions to buy different equipment to keep their work going. So it's a win-win as well for the government here in San Lucas. It also helps us to have our milling facilities always working at full capacity. If you have a problem or a hiccup in one of your mines, you can assure that your mill will be running 100% of its availability time. Here is just a brief description of how it works. We receive, as you can see, different colors on this ore that is brought by the small miners. We sample the different bulk ore that is brought, and once we have all the samples, and we make sure that which ones are the ones that can be blended with the other ones to go to one of our different mills. At that point, we blend the material, and then we send it to our milling facilities. Depends if it goes to the Porco milling facility, if it goes to the Caballo Blanco, or if it goes to Bolivar. And finally, we have the Zimapan mine in Mexico. This is a very different mine from a geological point of view when compared to the Bolivian assets. This is a very wide ore body, sometimes as wide as 20 to 30 meters. We run very high volume mining methods, long hole blasting, rooms and pillars. So it's a very high volume operation when compared to the Bolivian ones. Lower head grades, but nonetheless, due to all the automatization and mechanization that this mine has, the costs are significantly lower than when compared to the Bolivian ones. The mine produces around 1 million ounces of silver equivalent on a quarterly basis, around 4.5 million silver equivalent ounces on a yearly basis. We have some copper here as well, but generally speaking, it's kind of the same mineralization as the Bolivian ones, zinc and silver. Geologically speaking, the mines in Zimapan are encouraging, very promising, the upside potential, also at deep and at a long strike. We have the Carrizal mine and the Monte mine, both of them very wide ore bodies. And just recently, we just opened the Lomo del Toro, a historic mine with very high-grade silver contents, around north of 300 grams of silver. So our idea is to keep developing that mine and little by little start blending this tonnage with the average, with the Carrizal and Monte mine. Our goal is to have around 4,000 tons of Lomo del Toro coming out on a monthly basis. So far, we are around 3,500. By the end of the year, we should be there, and that should help us increase our head grades in Zimapan, and as well as the recoveries. Lomo del Toro has a little bit more lead, and the lead also helps us to recover the silver in the flotation circuit better than when you don't have lead. This is a long section of the Carrizal mine. It's we arrived just recently to level 960. Level 960, we estimate that will give us around 9 years of mine life. We'll be posting a resource and reserves report shortly from Zimapan. So those are our producing assets, all of them cash flow positive nowadays. And then we have the Soracaya project in Bolivia. This is a project that is meant to be producing, once it's reached full capacity, should be producing around 4 million ounces of silver a year. It's a project that it's well explored, and it has a few developments now, 2 stopes ready for small production, around 400 tons per day. We're close to San Vicente mine from Pan American Silver. But for the time being, we're not doing much here in Soracaya, but it's definitely something we have in the back pocket to keep growing. Maybe by the end of next year, start planning on maturing this property. We definitely believe in the United Nations sustainability goals, and we work closely with our communities to share the values and that this guidance give us. For us, the children are very important in the communities. So as you can see, in education is where we invest the most. So far this year in Bolivia, we're close to the $2 million of investments in the different sustainability initiatives. We have an experienced board and management team in place. Our chair structure is something that we're working today. Now with the restructuring of the Glencore transaction back, we're now working to create more awareness about the company. We have a clean balance sheet, no bank debt. The only debt we have today is with Glencore, and $3 million with Trafigura, which we're amortizing by the end of this year. And we need to work more, let's say, more aggressively to make more awareness, especially to the institutional investors. As you can see, we have a very high inclination to retail investment. So that's something that we're going to be working in the next coming years. Resource estimate, there's a large percent. I think that's pretty much, this is our resume of our last financial statements. Q4, we generated an adjusted EBITDA of around almost $17 million. And that's pretty much what I have. Thank you
Thank you, Arturo. We actually have a couple of seconds.
Yes.
So I'd like to ask you a question here, because you are a producer and you also have some exploration, and yet you have no debts if we exclude Glencore.
Correct.
And you could argue that the Glencore debt is more or less connected to the transaction. So what's the thinking there with no debts? Obviously, you need to put some money in the production, or?
Right. Well, right now, the sustaining capex is coming from your own cash flow.
All right.
We're generating very strong cash flows nowadays. We're ready to pay, hopefully in advance, the Glencore, to cover the Glencore payment. Hopefully, we'll do it in advance of November 1st, 2025. And we're going to be looking for different initiatives to grow the company. We are starting to review some ideas, including some acquisitions.
Okay.
But for the time being, we're just being really focused to make sure that our mines get to the optimal efficiencies, and try to keep building our treasury as much as possible.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing not to have a debt. It's just a little bit odd, I would say, but it makes you to stand out. I would argue. So I think that's an interesting point. And a final question, and I will expose my ignorance when it comes to the business. But you are operating in two countries, fairly different, one could argue, although in Americas. But is there any currency risk? You're quoted on the Canadian Stock Exchange, and you have your income in dollars because it's quoted in dollars, and then you have your assets and costs perhaps in the local currency.
That's correct. Well, both in Mexico, we have around 78% of our costs are in Mexican pesos. The rest is linked to the US dollar. So we have been experiencing a depreciation from the Mexican peso to the US dollar. That definitely helps us. It's helping us.
Oh, yeah.
Similar situation in Bolivia. In Bolivia, around almost 80% of our costs are in Bolivian pesos. The Bolivian peso has been under a lot of pressure lately, and that definitely, as you well point out, we export absolutely everything, so our revenues are in US dollars. So that is also benefiting, in creating a benefit, a foreign exchange benefit for us. So in that sense, we have a natural hedge with the US dollar, so that is helping us as well.
Strong balance sheet, an interesting owner in a way, and the currency is working in your favor and probably will continue so. So things are looking great.
Yes, hopefully they keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.